I was really not sure I wanted to do this interview, to be honest with you.
Welcome to the Farm Hop Life podcast. I'm Matt. Today, my guest is Geoffrey Long of Long Story Farm in South Carolina. How's it going, Geoffrey?
Very well, Matt. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. So I wanted to start off with your pinned tweet. You're very, very active on Twitter, and I thought this was a perfect segue into getting started. You wrote, "When I started this journey to becoming a farmer, I was only doing what 5-year-old me always knew I would do." I love that.
Thank you.
That's great. So how did you start?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a long story, which is part of the reason we named the farm. Yeah, well, I mean, that's really, the reason we named the farm that way. My last name's Long, so there's a long tradition of farming. Basically, Southern dirt farmers are my ancestors. And my dad's the first generation that wasn't a farmer in forever. And so, I grew up going to my grandparents' farms, always loved the John Deere tractors, just completely envisioned myself one day, at the head of this, 36-row planter, just, cruising across the fields or whatever. And, I got a bunch of John Deere, the cast, the metal, cast metal John Deere tractors for Christmas one year. And I just, just my imagination just took me there. And, as you get older, and you're in high school and whatnot, and people are like, "Oh, you're going to go to college, and you shouldn't stick around here as rural towns. Just too much opportunity for you. Whatever." And you start like letting go of those dreams that you had as a kid, and so that's kind of what happened with me. I was, I was college prep or gifted or whatever kind of stuff, and there's a lot of encouragement to leave the rural area behind. And we were living in an area, it wasn't too rural, it was kind of a rural becoming a bedroom community, but still a lot of encouragement to kind of move on. So I did, I kind of changed my dreams up, and I was thinking, I wanted to be a politician maybe, and just started thinking about different things. And what happened was, when I was like, let's see, I guess I was, shouldn't date myself too much, but, I was middle-aged, let's say. My mom got cancer. She passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. My dad got cancer. He passed away. When my dad died, man, he had always had his prolific garden. Man, something just switched in me, and I'm like, I gotta grow some food, man. I cannot continue this life without growing some food. So we lived in a courtyard home, started growing food as much as I could. I probably had about 60 different plants growing in raised beds, a little courtyard, And I had 6 laying hens. Eventually the HOA found out about that. They weren't too pleased. So, had to move on. At that point I was really, driven to find a place. So that's when we started looking for land, and we got really lucky. We found a great place, and it kind of all fell into place, and it worked out. And the thing is, right when we signed the contract, my job took me to South America. So I moved to South America for work, and really couldn't do anything with the land. So yeah. One more thing I'll just mention about that. When I was a kid, I was 13. My grandfather had retired. He was the principal of the local high school here. He had retired, and he was just doing a little, garden. It was like 5 acres, and he had won, he won prize. He won best sweet potato at the county fair or something. He had 21-pound sweet potato, and he could grow tomatoes. Yeah, he could grow tomatoes like nobody I've never seen anyone grow tomatoes the way he grew tomatoes. I mean, just incredibly, just huge, just really nice. Some of the simple pleasures I remember as a kid were, Miracle Whip on white bread with, tomatoes. It's like a big tomato sandwich, salt and pepper. It's kind of Southern thing. So, I worked with him one summer with that truck farm kind of thing that he was doing, and Loved it, man. Just really loved it. I was 13 and, listening to my grandfather tell stories about all kinds of stuff. You know, everything from being an educator during the civil rights movement, all the way up to, watching the things like the PIC program, big USDA program where it's paying farmers to leave fields fallow and things like that. Just incredible experience listening to him talk about it. On my mother's side, my grandfather was a rural mail carrier, and he had about a 40-acre farm. They grew peaches and watermelons and things like that. So, every year we were canning peaches and all that, and just feels like coming home, So
Nice. That's very cool. Side note about your grandpa's tomatoes. Did you save any of that seed, or is that gone?
No, I mean he grew, pretty standard like hybrids.
Okay. I didn't know if he
yeah.
made his own or kept this, like this one always does the best or whatever.
Not that I remember. I think he ordered from a catalog, and I remember, I want to say Better Boy or something like that.
Okay.
I could, if I looked them up, I could figure out what they were. But I did meet a guy here locally in the farmers market last year. I actually put this on Twitter. He's got seeds that were handed down from his family for 200 years.
Whoa.
And, I have been remiss in not getting with him sooner, but got to go touch base with him. He's offered to give us some seeds, so
that's
really
awesome.
excited about that. Yeah,
those kind of connections, they always start so small like that, and then it just blooms into like something like you wouldn't even imagine.
I mean, it's amazing. Just locally, we're trying to. We really want to be part of this community. My family's from here. We just want to be part of the community, and whatever that takes. I mean, if we just end up being homesteaders that go to the farmers market and it never does more than that, that's going to be, we're going to be part of the community one way or the other. I aspire to more, but who knows, but man, we've met so many people that are into this, that want good food, that want community. It's a great local downtown community, kind of, guys thinking about how are we going to grow our community and be, more self-sufficient as a community, trade with each other, help each other. So it's really cool. Great vibe.
Definitely. Here. Yeah. So then after South America, how long until so when you got back from South America,
yeah,
how long has it been in that, like from then until now? So
we got back right at the end of 2016. And when I say at the end, I mean, we literally landed, I think December 22nd or something like that. I mean, it was, right before Christmas. I think we were in a residence inn for Christmas, just kind of getting acclimated, back in the States. And, so we had the land and we moved into an apartment, downtown, and, we would come out here and we, try to plant some trees and do a little gardening and stuff like that. And, we didn't really get serious about living out here until about 2 years ago. So, we had chickens a little before we moved out here. So we were getting active, we planted, the first thing we did was we planted about a 2.5, 3 acre kind of permaculture food forest garden kind of concept, all orchard spacing, about 40 or so different species.
Did you design it?
No, a friend of mine, his name is Matt Kipp.
That's cool.
Yeah, he designed it. He designed it, and then we were delayed in planting, and so he had laid everything out with flags and everything. By the time we went back, we finally got things figured out again. That it just fits and starts with me having a pretty demanding corporate job and everything.
Yeah.
By the time we got back to it, I think we kind of had to improvise a little bit, but we stayed pretty true to the basic principles. We have a kind of a canopy level along one edge because there's a little road there, like an old logging road that we use now as in part of the farm. On the other side of that is a bunch of sweet gums and oaks and stuff like that, deciduous hardwoods, generally. Yeah. And so we kept this canopy layer along the edge there, and then as it goes towards the south, it goes, the layers go down. So the stories, on the south edge was a windrow, and right to the north side of that is where a lot of the berry plants are, things like that. So we had an idea of maybe putting a house over there. That didn't really work out. So it's kind of, we didn't really follow basic zone 0 type. That didn't work out because we didn't put the house there. But we do follow that from a point of view of like where the center of our farm is kind of our zone. I guess you call it zone 1 maybe. But
Yeah.
anyway, it just kind of goes out from there. And the farm is a little ways from where we actually live now. But it's all on the same, on the property. It's just, it's about a 10-minute walk. 10-minute walk.
I was going to ask, was there a house on the property when you bought it?
No, it was pretty much raw land. Pretty much raw land. So it was about half deciduous hardwoods, half plantation pines, and we made a deal with the seller she would clear cut some of the pines. That would help her out on the money side.
Oh,
leave
sure.
us some space to work. So
cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of livestock do you have on your farm right now, and why'd you pick it?
Yeah, well, so basically, just for some context, I still have a pretty demanding corporate job.
Yeah.
I was habitually, what's going on before the pandemic is I was flying every week somewhere, and most of the time that was pretty far away. So I was not able to, I would come home on a Friday evening or something like that. And basically I would just work on the farm, Saturday, Sunday, and then fly out again. And so we were keeping it pretty small. We were just trying to, keep the fruit trees and nut trees going and do a little gardening. We had some chickens, and we wanted to do more, but we were just taking our time because I just didn't have time to dedicate to it. When the pandemic started, I didn't travel as much, even though there are still, from a work perspective, my days are pretty busy. I don't have a lot of time to do anything during the week. So I'm pretty much still a weekend farmer, but it's a little easier logistically with me not traveling. So,
definitely. Yeah.
So we stepped up a little bit, and we fenced in an area. So right now we have some cows, we have a few goats, we have some pigs. And we have 2 donkeys. The donkeys were rescues.
That's cool.
Literally got a call from a guy. He's like, "Hey man, there's a guy I know that does a guy I buy some hay from. He runs a few red Angus, little red Angus herd, and I buy hay from him. And he has another friend, I guess a mutual friend, I know him too, but he does some cattle, which he sells. I'm not sure exactly through whom, but he does sell into like the Whole Foods distribution network somehow. So, again, those connections with people that care about the quality of the food and all that. It's not hard to find here, which is really cool. But
yeah,
anyway, he runs his day job is running a tree service. And one of the guys that comes out to service some of the equipment said, "Hey, I got these donkeys and it's not working out with my goats." And so that kind of that message came through the bat phone or whatever, and I got a call, and it's like, "Hey, if you don't come pick." I don't want to talk bad about the guy. I think the donkeys were causing trouble with the goats, probably just not enough space, and too many goats. I don't know, whatever. But the way it was framed to me was, if you don't come pick him up, I'm going to shoot him. So I don't know. I don't think I'd take that literally, but he was like, "They got to get out of here." So
never know.
Yeah. I don't know. I went over there and we loaded them up, and I brought them over here, and man, they have flourished. And they're probably, honestly, they probably saved some of our goats from the coyotes. They're my understanding is the coyotes won't come within. They take wide berth around those guys. So
yeah, they don't want to get the crap stomped out of them or anything like that. Yeah.
So we still have the donkeys. We started with the dairy. With the cows was dairy. My wife wanted a Jersey. I love the idea from a homestead perspective of having milk. We're not doing dairy. Yeah, we're not doing dairy from a farming perspective. That's pretty rigorous state inspection. We don't have the infrastructure really for that right now. I guess that could happen in the future, but it's not something we're planning for. So we started with one Jersey. She was bred. We brought along a steer calf with her just so she wouldn't be by herself. She had a calf. She's super productive, so we got a bottle calf to go with her,
nice.
which she adopted. Which was, we've been pretty lucky on some of that stuff because a lot of people say that's really hard, and it worked out for us. But yeah, so that's our little cow herd, and we added another Jersey this just a few months ago, and she just had a calf, so he's about
that's awesome.
Old.
That's good that the heifer, right, that took to that calf. I once worked on a ranch in Montana many years ago, and this milk cow's calf had died, and this other one's mom had died. I don't know. It was weird. So this was before I got here, like just before. What they did is that they skinned the dead calf, wrapped the hide of the dead one in the calf that lost its mom, or the mom rejected, or whatever the deal was, and so it kind of smelled like the other calf, and it worked. And I was like, when she told me that story, I like lost my mind. I'm like, that sounds so crazy.
That's hard to take. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. What they told us was put some of the mother's milk on the bottle calf, and what we would do is we would pull her into the milking stanchion, which is basically, it's a head gate. We have a little chute with a head gate that we set up, and so we use that as our milking stanchion. So we would put her in the milking stanchion, start getting her ready to milk, and we would let the calf come in, and she would kick him ferociously the first few times, but he was he had a little fight in him, and he kept going back, and she finally was like, okay, you can be my kid now. So and he's now, we've left him intact, so he's a Jersey bull. He's living up to the reputation of Jersey bulls. I'll just say that. I've mentioned that on Twitter once, but he's an ornery little cuss, so we'll have to watch. You cannot turn your back on that guy, man. When you're in the pasture, you've got to be like head on a swivel. That guy's he's tough.
Yeah, that same place. I was feeding them one day, and like that Jersey or whatever, she was the most productive, but man, she had an attitude, and like, I don't know if she like sensed something, like I was off one day or whatever. She like bucked her head, and her horns were tipped or whatever, and it caught me right below the eye and like broke the skin. I'm glad I didn't break my cheekbone. I mean, it was hard.
Well, yeah, I get it. I think that the challenge we have is that with him being a bottle calf, he's really affectionate with us, and he doesn't know that he's pushing probably 700 pounds now, I'm guessing. But I don't know, 6 or 7 probably. And he, if he comes up to kind of nuzzle you like he would do when he was a baby calf, he can knock you on your butt. You gotta
oh yeah, swinging that head around, and So you mentioned goats. Are they for meat or dairy?
Well, so they're American pygmy. So it really, there's a lot of things we've done. This is, I mentioned to you some of the things you have to figure out what we're doing. That's a farm and what's the homestead. And the goats is one of those things that, I think with the dairy cows, we're getting some beef cows out of it. We've got the milk. The milk is a closed loop on our farm. We eat, or we consume whatever dairy products we need. We don't have to milk every day because of the bottle calf and stuff like that. Once we wean off the older calves, which is, we're due to do that. We should have. I mean, nature will take its course, but once we wean them, we would have a lot of milk, and we're giving that to the pigs and the chickens and whatever. When we have extra, we're feeding it to the other animals. So there's a closed loop there. A pretty clear relationship to what we're doing from a farming perspective, because we are selling chicken, ducks, eggs, and pork. The goats, not as clear cut. A pygmy, that breed, I mean, we can do a little bit of meat and milk. It's a good homestead breed. It's smaller. It's easy to manage, relatively speaking. I mean, they're goats. They can get out of whatever they want to get out of. But I think it really came down to, we saw a lady that her husband was, this is kind of where we're not great business people maybe with this farm, but a lady was like down on her luck, and her husband couldn't take care of him anymore, and she wanted the herd to stay together. So we stepped in and bought them from her. And I think, we've been lucky. I mean, we've got some, we've had several, now I guess the second kitting since we got them. We sold some of those, more just like almost like breeding, just selling them to other homesteaders. But I think what we really were thinking was we could use them to help clear some of the land. We have an area with a bunch of old stand pecan trees, and I'm guessing these are 70-year-old trees, probably something like that. And they're still producing, but underneath them, there's a bunch of scrub and privet and sweet gums and small oaks and stuff like that. So my idea is to pin them up under those pecan trees, let them take as much of that out as they can, and go in there with a chainsaw and see if I can't harvest a few pecans in the next fall. So that's kind of what we're thinking right now. So I think we thought the goats help us clear land, and they've done a great job on the pasture of getting rid of some of the stuff that was causing us some concern. A lot of the wild blackberry, just briars basically, but they're wild blackberries, and in April, May, June, they're briars rest of the year. I mean, they're pretty thorny. So
sure.
And we were worried about that. Just, heard some stories about what is it called? Black leg disease. I'm getting that right. Black something disease.
I'm not familiar.
It's a bacterial infection that cows can get, and apparently the blackberries, the thorns and stuff can kind of create that condition, or not. Creates a condition that's more advantageous for the bacteria. So I was kind of worried about that. Maybe I'm over worried about it. I just heard Joel Salatin talking about it one time, where he said he had to bush hog some blackberries because the cows got in there, and a couple of them got black leg disease. And
oh no.
And so maybe I was more worried than I should have been. I don't know. I mean, I just heard him tell the story, and I've I know that they inoculate against it around here. So anyway, the sweet gums and the blackberries, the goats really keep those completely down, which is awesome. And they do a good job with the privet too. So some of those species that really don't care about having on the pasture, they've been really good about kind of cleaning that up. So some of the old windrows that were pushed up after the land was cleared, you can see through them now. It used to be that they were just big thickets, and now you can see through them, and the goats and the cows walk through them and use them for shade or whatever. That's kind of cool. But I think we'll try to move them to get them take more advantage of their ability to take out some of that vegetation.
What herbs are you growing, and why do you grow those ones?
Well, I part of my journey is I worked as a chef, I guess. I mean, I wasn't really a trained chef. I worked with a really talented chef and his sous chef after he took over the restaurant for a little while. And I love food, and ran that kitchen for about a year. So my food journey kind of started with cooking. I loved cooking. I still love cooking. And so I really started growing herbs more to keep them around because I use them a lot. I use them in stock and bone broth, that kind of stuff. So right now we have lavender, which we got from another homesteader. It's a species. I don't know what the variety is, but it does a lot better here than anything I've bought from any other lavender I've tried. This is a lot more hardy for this area. But we have lavender, rosemary, oregano. We have about 3 or 4 different varieties of mint. We have a bay laurel, which is cool having that around. Let's see what else. We have some thyme, and we have the bay laurel, and then we have kind of a guild of herbs around the bay laurel out in the food forest, which is kind of a cool thing. And then we've been growing dill and cilantro that we've been selling, which is it's been a pretty good seller, relatively speaking. I want to do more with herbs. I got a bunch of seed for this year, and try to do more with that. I think the problem around here is they do grow pretty well, and so there's not a lot of demand for that because people can, they can grow them on their kitchen counter. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So unless someone's really using a lot of them, Oh, we have basil as well. I might have missed a couple, but I just have a bunch of box. There's a buddy of mine who works at a manufacturing plant nearby, and they get these big ingots of metal, and they come in these wooden boxes, and they're great little garden boxes. So I just have the herbs.
Cool.
They're all planted out in those boxes. So that's kind of neat, keeps them contained and helps to keep the weeds out of them and stuff like that. So they get a little dry in the summer. That's really hard to keep them wet in the summer just because it's so hot here. But other than that, it's working great. I think I'm going to try to expand it, and I'll have to move them out of the boxes, but that's a project that I might not get to for a while. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So speaking of the farmers market, how well do you guys do at the farmers market?
Yeah. So, 2021 was our first year going to the market.
Oh, okay.
We did sell a little bit in 2020. Just right around Thanksgiving, Christmas, we had some turkeys we'd raised and a few chickens and eggs that we were able to sell. And we weren't, full disclosure, we weren't really fully signed up with the state on all that stuff. So we got that stuff.
Tell anybody.
Yeah, would hate for that to get out. We got that worked out by the end of June. So we went to the farmers market, in July actually of 2021. And we did great. Our first day, it's a Saturday market. They do it pretty much every Saturday during the summer, and then one Saturday a month in the fall and through December. And I would say we averaged, dollar figure wise. I mean, it's when I say great for us for our first summer out, it felt great. We did about $300 a day on average.
That's amazing.
So
I mean, the year before you were making zero, so $300 is pretty dang good.
Yeah, and a lot of local farmers we've spoken to, they've indicated that. Well, first of all, that market where we go, it's a little tiny market. I mean, tiny. Most of the farmers that go through there, they end up building up a clientele list, and they don't go back to the market. And I think we may be on that type of journey if we continue to grow our business, but. The market's it's a cool place to meet people and to be part of the community. So it's working well for us in that regard as well. So that's what we've done so far. We're doing a little bit of marketing on Facebook, not any paid advertising. We just have a farm page, and we try to let people know what's going on there. But again, I mean, I have a pretty tough job. I don't have a lot of time for that. I'm trying to do better, but just setting aside a little time every weekend to do something. That's about the extent of our marketing, and we did pretty well. I think closing out the year, we did pretty well.
Good.
So
you're really more using the farmers market as like a networking tool, and the cash is nice, but it's really like, hey, can I get your contact info and let you know about this or that if you're interested?
Yeah, exactly. That's our thought process, is just use it as a way to get to know people in the community. Hopefully we can pick up a couple of restaurant accounts with some of the people downtown that are wanting to do some local things. I think we've got a chance to do something with the pork and the duck eggs in particular. Some of the restaurants are doing their own pastries and things, and some of that baking would be really great with some duck eggs. I mean, duck eggs are fantastic for cakes and custards and stuff like that. So
definitely,
I'm hoping we can make some inroads there.
I was gonna ask, what breed of pig?
Yeah. So we met a farmer, and we love these guys. It's called Woodland Valley Farms, and so it's Chase and Alyssa. They're younger than me by more than a decade, I think, but they've also been farming a lot longer than me by more than a decade. So it's really interesting to have someone who's really been a bit of a mentor. We've actually, I've actually worked with Chase on like a consulting arrangement, and they're both just very knowledgeable. They recently got married, and we just really love them. They're just great people, and they have a breeding program for pigs, and they have Berkshire Ossabaw Cross, and so
the
Ossabaw, kind of my understanding at least, Ossabaw Island off of Georgia. Some people brought some of the black-haired Spanish pigs over and kind of became a breed, and we love them. They do a great job for foraging and rooting, and we're definitely using them to clear out some of those brambles and things, and the meat's delicious. We're doing really well. People really enjoy the pork. I don't think I've had a single complaint. So it's been great. It's got a nice kind of red color to the meat. It's pretty flavorful. Ours are eating a lot of wild blackberry roots and leaves and stuff. And we have a non-GMO feed source that we're using. It's obviously grain based and everything. We'd like to do get them on a better rotation. They've been harder to manage than I think we expected from
Sure.
keeping them in and everything like that. But we're trying to get better at that and get bigger. I'd like to right now. I think we're on a pace to do about 24, 25 pigs a year, and that's including us eating probably a couple of those. But
Nice.
I'd like to get up to about. I think we could sell. I think maybe a reasonable goal for 2022 would be maybe 40 or 50 pigs. I think that's what we're going to go for, something like that.
That's very nice. What do they finish out at?
I'm trying to get them up to around 300 pounds.
Okay.
It just depends. What I did the last batch, I got six piglets, and I took 3 early, so they were around 160, 180
Okay.
on the hoof, and then the other 3 I'm going to take this week, and they're going to be 300-ish on the hoof.
Wow.
And that's a nice pork chop, man. It's really, really
I
nice.
bet it is.
Yeah. So
what do you charge per pound for pork?
yeah, so we're probably a little underpriced right now. I'm trying to figure out the market. I'm not worried. I shouldn't say I'm not worried. I'm not pricing cost plus or cost basis. Really, I'm looking at the market and what I think I can get for them, and I'm trying to figure out, figure that part out. So I'm a little below what I probably should be charging. I'll just say that up front.
Okay.
But we're charging around $10 or $12 a pound for the main products that we're selling. So the bacon, smoked bacon, sausage, pork chops. Those are $12 on the high end, $10 on the low end, and then we have some of the other cuts we're doing like $8, $7.50, something like that, and we'll sell the hocks and the other stuff a little cheaper than that. So we offer all of it, and we have sold shanks and leaf fat and different things. Not as much demand for those things as I was hoping, but we are selling some of that at the market.
Are your customers able to buy those individual cuts from you directly?
Yeah, so the way I don't know how it works everywhere else, but in South Carolina, you have to have a meat. Let's see, it's a meat handler's license or a permit or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. So you get that from the state, and as long as you're using an inspected processor, that's fine, and you can do whatever you want with the cuts. So the processor, we can't butcher anything, of course, but we take ours to a USDA processor, and so we got sausage. We usually carry around 6 or 7 different flavors of sausage. We have smoked bacon, uncured smoked bacon, and everything else in cuts. And we'll do some loin roast, some ham roast, some half hams, whole hams, fresh sliced bellies, salted and fresh fat back. So that's how we normally have them sliced up. Yeah.
That's cool. How it works here. I'm in Montana. I don't know if you knew that. I bought lamb last year from a guy. I paid him for the lamb plus a transport fee to the processor, and then the processor had the kill fee, and then obviously all the cuts. It was like price per pound, and then if you're over a certain weight, it's a little bit less or whatever. So then I get it from the processor, not necessarily the farmer. Now I could probably get it from the farmer if he had his more stuff, I guess, hey, I'm USDA certified, blah, 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 whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's just less work for him doing it this way. And so it's like, I don't mind. It's just different.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a bit of a catch-22. We're pretty private people in terms of, we don't put I don't put my real name on Twitter. I don't talk about it. But I'm not like hiding it, but we haven't been out there. I was really not sure I wanted to do this interview, to be honest with you, because we've just kept it low key.
Fair enough.
The challenge though, if you're serious about, I'll be idealistic for a minute. If you're serious about changing the world and how people eat their food and how your community supports itself and all that, you have to put yourself out there. And even though I kind of hate, giving all this information to the government and all that stuff, that's the only way to really make these products accessible to people,
Yeah.
that I think need it. I'll look at the world right now and see a lot of things happening that I think are a result of just not eating right. I mean, big motivation for me is my little sister. I didn't get to this part, but my little sister also died of cancer, and
Dang, man.
yeah, it's
That is
pretty
rough.
tough. So when you see that happen to your family, and I came to the conclusion that food is part of the problem. I think there's
Mm.
a ton of other things going on in the world, obviously, and I'm worried about everything from the electromagnetic pollution, I'll call it, to chemical pollution and other things, and certainly we don't really understand the epigenetics behind some of these things. We don't know what's going to happen to our offspring and their offspring as a result of some of the things we're doing to ourselves. So
Sure.
I became really concerned about food as a for our family, and then obviously, if I'm serious, I care about other people having the same access, the same quality of food. So if you're
Yeah.
going to do that, you have to put yourself out there. And so that's kind of where we are, putting ourselves out there a little more now, and saying, hey, we want to be part of the solution.
I did notice that you are very selective on what you post on Twitter. Like, I had no idea what you looked like, and you had posted a thing about playing with Legos, like you're recreating like a Star Wars scene in the snow with your kids, and I'm assuming it was intentional. You didn't have your kids in the photo that you
Yeah,
posted. Yeah,
I'm not
I
cool
picked
with
up on
that.
that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
picked up on that.
I'm not good with putting the kids on social media. There's they're on there some, some other stuff, but yeah, we're pretty careful about that. I mean, we'll let them make some of those decisions when they're older, if they want to do it or not.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So we just touched on it a little bit about the unfortunate cancer with your family.
Mm-hmm.
But so like that kind of motivates you to grow your own food. Is there more to what motivates you to grow your own food?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I really just, I think the world isn't heading in a great direction. So I'd like to have that, an element of self-sufficiency, for our family, but also, like I said, for the community. I really, what I would love to see is a situation where our food supply chains are much shorter than they are. And again, I'd like to be part of that solution. So I think the big motivations for me are, first and foremost is health. Another big motivation is, the land, healing the land as much as we can. And then the third thing, or I'm not saying priority, I don't even know, but
Right.
you know, is that idea of the community, and just, why can't we provide for our own needs locally? Why can't we? Let's try. Maybe I can, I can get hay from my guy, and I can get him some pork, and I can get, maybe feed for another guy, and I can get grain from. I have a cousin who does row cropping on contour, not too far from here, and I get wheat straw from him, and I was talking about, maybe, again, I mentioned this on Twitter the other day, but I was talking about, what if I source grain from my cousin, got a hammer mill, made my own feed for the pigs. And there was a guy on there who suggested using barley sprouting, I guess almost like a microgreen kind of sprouting system to
Hmm.
make fodder. So I would love to figure out a way to source all that stuff, here. I have to drive about an hour and a half to get non-GMO feed right now. I can
Wow.
only get it. I can only get it in bags, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, there's certainly advantages, but you know, man, that's a lot. 50-pound bags. I'm not getting any younger. I don't know. I can't see myself hefting those 50-pound bags for another 10 or 15 years, which is what I would need to do to see this thing actually all the way through. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
what.
One thing that we have in our area for it's Montana Poultry Growers Co-op,
Mm-hmm.
and they partnered with a non-GMO organic seed company in like central Montana somewhere. I forget exactly
Right.
where. And so we buy it like collectively as like at a discounted rate. Like you go to the store down the street from me or whatever, and it's like $35 for a 40-pound bag. Whereas if
Right.
I get it through here, it's about $20 for a 50-pound bag.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's something that's available to you in your area, or maybe it needs to get started. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
I know
think so. I mean,
you're not doing enough now, so you should
yeah.
probably just.
Well, yeah, I did run across some people on a Facebook group for like local farmers, and there was some people saying, "Hey, we should do like a co-op," and I'm like, "Yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to like ring up a farmer and say, hey, drop off 2 tractor trailer loads of organic peas and whatever, and let's come up with a formula and but again, I can't take that on right now. I mean, it's all I can do.
Yeah.
We the thing is that I consider myself an honorable guy. I'm not gonna shortchange my employer. You know, my employer. We have a deal. I'm not gonna back down from that.
Sure.
I'm committed to the job, to getting the job done and doing it right and all that. And the position I have, it requires a pretty hefty time commitment, and that is what it is. I made that deal, and so I have to honor that. So I have to fit the stuff in around that in a way. That sometimes that means getting up at 5 a.m. and making a feed run or whatever, or maybe that means even taking a day off, taking a vacation day and going and being a farmer for a day.
It's like a nice vacation.
Yeah. So, we have to fit it in around that. And that's a big challenge. And it limits our growth. I mean, I think that if I ever got to a point where I felt like I wanted to commit 100% to the farm, I'm pretty sure we could grow it pretty quickly.
I mean, yeah, really. I mean, you'd be running on all cylinders, right? I mean, there's really like, if you're looking at what you can get done, like look at what you've accomplished from mostly just the weekends. If you could do that 7 days a week, I mean, just boom to the moon.
Yeah. I mean, part of the thing, we talked about, my wife and I agreed that we would start off as a homestead and we would figure out what we liked and what we were good at. And whatever we liked and we were good at, we would head in that direction and see if we could make a business out of it. And we're really at the point where we figured out that ducks and pigs and garlic are pretty easy for us to grow here. And we like them, they're enjoyable. I mean, ducks are a mess, pigs are a mess, but they're a good mess. It's things like garlic are really not that susceptible to pest pressure the way that, some of the other stuff can be. This is a great area to grow food. A lot of people, we go to the farmer's market. We're not going to go sell tomatoes at the farmer's market. Everybody has tomatoes. Everybody has squash and zucchini and sweet corn and peppers. Everybody has all that stuff. Green beans, that stuff. Any gardener here can grow that without too much trouble. I'm not even thinking about competing for that.
Sure.
There was a guy that we're really good friends with in town who's doing a little microgreens farm. He calls it Renegade Acre. I think it's called. Great guy. He's doing microgreens. I don't want to go compete with him. I want to go figure out, hey, what can I do that it builds our community? So I'm looking for ways we can do that. I think we will push more into produce, market garden type stuff over the next couple of years, but we need to get some ground prepared for that. And right now we're just more focused on the animals. We do. One thing I wanted to mention, brought up talking about selling the pork by the cut and everything. South Carolina has for the federal exemption. South Carolina has again, under the same meat and poultry handler license, you can qualify for that federal exemption. So we qualified for the 1,000 bird exemption, and we do on farm processing of the poultry. And we've done turkeys and chickens and ducks. And we're getting pretty good at it. We're not great at it, but my son and I, we can knock them out pretty quickly. By the time we're done with 20 or 25, we're sick of it and want to do something else, but we can handle that. So
sure.
Yeah. So doing that too.
So you've got your permaculture food forest.
Mm-hmm.
you've got your goats and your pigs and your cows all keeping down the wild blackberries and other things. So what other methods, practices, or like
Yeah.
techniques do you have going on?
Well, I think the main thing that I really want to get a lot better at is I need to get my I need to get more balance, I would say, in terms of time commitments, and you know, I need to figure out what I'm doing for a business and what I'm doing for a homestead. You know, so I'll directly address your question as
Sure.
well. But you know, one of the challenges is you know, I love growing stuff, and yeah, after my dad passed away, I started growing a lot of stuff in my backyard at that little, you know, courtyard house. And my grandfather had a green thumb. My dad had a green thumb. My dad could grow anything, and it looks like it's hereditary. And I don't know what I did to deserve it, but I can make, you know, stuff grows. You know, my wife, we have to put her on weed patrol because whatever she touches, you know, it dies. So we're like, hey, honey, you just take care of the weeds over there. Well, let us plant the stuff, you know. Anyway, I really enjoy I just love walking around, you know, figuring out how to make stuff grow. And you know, we've had some pretty good success with certain crops at a garden, you know, homestead or you know, personal scale. I think we could do more there, but I think the things I really want to work on is getting a better balance and working on that rotational grazing, especially with the pigs. I want to get them in the right, you know, get the paddock set up better, get them moving at a more appropriate interval. I mean, we left them a little longer where they've been on purpose, but I want to, you know, we're getting, as we push across where they are right now, we'll get to some old stand deciduous hardwoods, and I would love to have them get in an area for, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then move. And I think it would be just incredible for that area, for that forest. I'd like to. We're planting some trees, working it on like a silvopasture kind of system. And the other thing I'd like to get more into is starting plants from cuttings and stuff like that. So those are things I'm kind of interested in and working on. I think I'd love to do like you know, have like a permaculture nursery kind of thing where I could help other people who are interested in getting started with a homestead or doing some permaculture. I could say, hey, here's something that's worked well for us, and be able to pass on a few plants to them.
That'd be cool.
I think that where we need to go from a business perspective, I mentioned earlier, market gardening. We need to figure out how we're going to do that. And I don't really have a good I don't have a good vision of how we're going to accomplish that. I don't have the experience or the knowledge right now to really make that happen. Been reading Elliot Coleman's book. I need to learn more about it. You know, Chase. I mentioned Chase earlier from Woodland Valley Farms.
Yeah.
He's you know, he's a little bit of a critic, I guess, and which is what I asked for. You know, but yeah, we definitely need to improve there if we're going to make a business out of this.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna go on
Oh,
to
no, I don't
something
know. I
else.
don't know what else. Yeah.
No, that's all right. So it seems you got like a good flow going. You know, there's a lot that you want to improve on and whatnot. So what would you say that's working well?
I mean, you know, the pigs are working well. I just would like to move them more, but they're working well.
Sure.
You know, the things that we've done really well. The other thing we have, I didn't mention, we have a 20 by 60 hoop house.
Very nice.
And yeah, and so that's another area where I got to figure out if I'm a homesteader or a farmer, right? Because that's a huge asset from a farming perspective in terms of like greens production and stuff like that. And the homesteader in me and the, you know, the aspiring horticulturist in me has filled it up with tropical citrus plants and bananas and stuff like that. So that's the kind of thing that, you know, if we're going to be, if we decide to get more serious about being farmers and really making a business out of it, we would need to either scale that back or relocate it to an area of the property that's more of a homestead and part of it, and really focus on getting that going for a you know, from a productive capacity kind of point of view.
Sure. I have heard that you might be able to get a grant for a high
Yeah.
tunnel.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was common knowledge or
There was there was a time frame where I think up until like November 19th, they were taking applications, and I wasn't able to get anything in for that. But yeah, I'm aware of that program. I need to look into that, see if there's another deadline coming up.
Sure. So then, what didn't work so well?
The biggest issue we're having is predation, especially with the chickens. We were trying to do. I built these really cool mobile coops, and just really enjoyed that. It was cool watching the chickens, come out every morning and everything. And then we've got pretty good populations of pretty much every predator you can imagine here, and especially the pullets when they were, say when they were 7-8 weeks old, they would just disappear, just get carried off by ospreys or hawks or something like that. Raccoons, foxes. I haven't seen the coyotes kill a chicken yet, but I'm pretty sure we've lost at least a few animals to the coyotes as well. It was interesting when we moved here. You didn't hear them very, very much. You'd hear them, but they sounded really, really distant. Now you hear them, and they're on top of us. I mean, I know, yeah. And now my neighbor said that they kind of have, in his experience, they've rotated, so they'll come through here, and then they'll kind of migrate. So right now we're watching out for them. We lost a couple of goats a few weeks ago. We think that's what happened. So predation is probably the one thing that we have got to figure out how to manage. We're going to need to have livestock guardians, which we don't have except for the donkeys. And we're going to have to do more in terms of shelter and fencing. We've switched all the chickens into tractors. We're no longer using the mobile coops with the electric netting. That just isn't successful. And so that's been the biggest challenge and the biggest frustration. And it hurts my soul to see these animals get
right.
It's part of the cycle, the circle of life. But it's still, I feel like a failure as a farmer when I don't protect the animals adequately.
Sure, I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
Did you follow a specific style or plan when doing the mobile coop?
Nah, man, I kind of made it up as I went along. I just did a single pitch. It looks like a little single pitch shed, and
Sure.
I used what is that stuff called, T111 or something like that. I used that stuff, and the first one I built, it's solid, man. That thing you could roll that thing down a hill and it would just plop back up on its wheels and off you go. But a little bit heavy, but it was just easy for the kids to move. Was the thing. It could hold about 15 or 20 birds pretty comfortably. And sweet spot was right around 16 or 17 would be comfortable in there. And so we could move the netting and just roll the coop over to the next spot. And underneath their coop, what we did the first season, we did this. Every time we moved them, we would plant a little garden plot under where the coop had been. And we had beautiful like butternut squash and pumpkins. We would put the really heavy feeders like the cucurbits there, and they would just go crazy. It was pretty cool watching that process, but we just cannot protect them well enough right now. So we're going to have to figure out how to fix that.
So you're saying that the predator problem is your biggest challenge by far?
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Gotcha. So then what are your like goals for the farm? Are you still stuck in that lay awake at night? Am I a homesteader? Am I a farmer? Kind of like mentality. Where are you trying to take it?
Well, like I mentioned before, I've got to maintain the right balance. I mean, I have to maintain my sanity first of all, right? I have a tendency to kind of put a lot on myself, and I can really make it hard for me to so I'll sit here, I'll work all day with my day job, and then I'll feel like I have to go do something for the farm, and I'll go, whatever, do whatever I can. It's really hard when the days are shorter in terms of daylight, because during the summer I can squeeze in an hour and a half at night, not too much trouble. I don't watch TV, so that's no big deal. I mean, it's relaxing for me. It actually energizes me to go do something like that outside and with the animals or with plants, whatever. That really energizes me. So it's a lot. A lot of people. I used to get when we lived in South America. People, I would leave the office on Friday, and some of my colleagues would say, "Hey, man, you've had a really long week. You need to get some rest, man. I hope you get some rest over the weekend." And then I come back on Monday and they'd be like, "Hey, did you get some rest?" And I'd be like, "Man, we went and we hiked, 20 kilometers on Saturday. It was awesome." And they're like, "What is wrong with you?" Like I just, I'm a restless soul. I don't like to sit down and watch TV. That what relaxes me is to go do something. I got to go
Sure.
do something with my hands or something. So it's a good rest for me, but I have to keep that balance and not put too much on myself. I can get my vision and my dreams can get a little ahead of my reality when it comes to the time that I have. So I'm trying to be careful about that. But I mean, my ultimate goal is to retire and be a farmer. I don't know what the timing for that is right now, but I would love to have the opportunity to, make a go at this before I'm too old to really work it. So that's where I'd like to see it go. But I am in a bit of, I think not so much stuck between being a homesteader and a farmer. I'm more stuck between, am I going to commit to this as a source of revenue and profit, or am I going to continue to do this as a homesteader who has a little bit of cash on, like a side hustle and get a little bit of money on the side? That's really the conundrum right now, is solving that problem. What level of commitment we want to make to that.
So then how do you define homestead versus a farm?
Yeah. So this is the conversation I was having with with Chase, and I also had a similar conversation with Joel Salatin. I've been fortunate enough I've been able to tour his farm 3 times, and so I went in a few times. Yeah, he's not too far. I can drive up there in 6 or 7 hours. So, but that's actually one of the things that switched my mind into doing this. Actually, is the first time I went up there, I was like, I'm listening, I'm watching, I'm like, I could totally do this. I could do this. It was right after my dad passed away, and I just started growing up stuff in my backyard, and I went and saw Joel Salatin's farm, and I thought, dude, I could do this. Like, not that it's easy, but I mean, I could do this. I'd be willing to work hard to do this. But
Sure.
anyway, touring his farm and everything, he talks about the hold-ons and the different enterprises on the farm and how you stack them. There's a Thriving Farmer podcast. Listen to Michael a little bit. He talks a little bit about how you stack the enterprises. I think that's something that we have to think through better. But when you talk about homesteading, I think, like this, my little citrus thing, that's kind of a hobby. It's not going to make me a lot of money unless I decide to start, a citrus nursery, but I'm in zone 8A. I could do it. I would be really, really stretching the limits of nature and energy usage to make that really work. You know what I mean? So I probably need to figure out how to relegate those things to an area of the farm that's something that's easy to take care of, that I'm not stressed about it, and then really leverage the productive capacity of the infrastructure like the hoop house and stuff like that. So I think that's what I'm trying to talk about when I say homestead and farm. The farm is the enterprise that's going to actually generate revenue. It's going to pay for the homestead,
Right.
pay for the lifestyle, and I have to figure out which ones are which, and put them in their right priority. So if I've got to make a decision between citrus trees getting an extra cup of fertilizer or feeding pigs, I have to feed pigs because pigs make us money. You know what I mean? That's really what I'm kind of talking about, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, what would you tell people that want to get started in homesteading or farming, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is to start. I think the biggest challenge for me, we did. I'll just tell you a quick story. We did a solar. We run the farm basically on solar. We can't grow much beyond where we are right now on that solar system, but we've run the farm successfully since 2017. We installed the solar the first time. We've run our irrigation, our all our water for the livestock. We're running our freezers. All of that's on solar.
Wow, that's amazing.
When I started doing the solar install, I jokingly say I didn't know what a volt was, right? I didn't know anything about electricity, but I just decided I wasn't gonna be afraid. I was just gonna go figure it out, and I got some people to tell me a few things here and there, and watched a bunch of videos on YouTube and, um, just researched it and I was super careful. I would test it every time, double check everything. And, we've learned a lot of lessons. We didn't get it right the first time. We didn't have, just a few little things that people that do solar probably, would know, but I didn't know. And,
Sure.
but that's the thing is like, just start, do something on your balcony. If you're in an apartment somewhere, do something on your balcony. If you're, if you're in the suburbs or if you're in a courtyard, like I was, you're in a courtyard home, hey, throw up a raised bed and hide it from the HOA for a couple years, just start, do something. Or maybe go, at least be a customer, man, be a customer of a guy like me, who's just trying to figure it out, go say, hey, local farmer guy that dreams big and, was trying to hold down your corporate job and do this at the same time. I'd love to buy some of your pork chops. I think that'd be super appreciated. So I think just starting anywhere. I guess the biggest pitfalls that I think I've fallen into is going out there and getting and it's part of the same thing that makes me, I guess, impulsive enough to go try to build a solar system. But getting the animals before I had the shelter or the fencing ready, like doing some stuff like that where you're like, hey, let's get some ducks, and you're not ready. So I'd say there's a balance there between just start and maybe, get some things prepared before you jump. But I would say in general, start and then, try to be mindful not to get too far out, ahead of yourself. But
sure. I got a friend like that. It seems like every weekend he's got like a new like animal or like whatever. And he's like, yeah, so I'm building infrastructure to do this because I picked up ducks on, Wednesday. Or like, oh, by the way, I'm also digging a pond for the ducks. And by the way, I'm picking up geese. And my brother dropped off 3 cows. Like all of this stuff, just like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like,
yeah.
But he's making it work, dude. He hustles like crazy, like no one I've ever met. So
it's the only way, man. But I'll just tell you another quick story if you don't mind. When we got the cows, the cow, when we bought her, she was bred, the first Jersey we got, and there's a dairy was shutting down, and what I don't know, they aren't registered or anything. They but he said they were Jerseys. They look like jerseys, and she seemed like a pretty decent looking cow and all that, as well as we knew. We brought her home. We had the fence all set up. We had water, all that. We had some hay. She was good to go. Well, I called the vet and I said, hey, could you come do a pregnancy check? And the people at the vet's office are like, well, do you have like a chute or anything? I'm like, nah, don't. She goes, well, he's got one he can bring. I'm like, okay. I had no idea, So the vet shows up. He's like, what is this? You don't have anywhere to catch the cow. I can't just like run across a pasture trying to catch your cow to give her a pregnancy check. What is this? And so, I spent a couple of weeks, researching. I read Temple Grandin's book on how to handle livestock, or I can't remember what it's called, but and then we designed a little thing. We threw it up, and the next time the vet came, I'm like, yeah, here she is. She's in the chute. She's in the head gate, ready to be examined. He's like looking at me, going, what's wrong with you, man? But I didn't know any better, right? I started to know any better. I got educated. We had some unfortunate situations with the first try at bottle calves, and it's an expensive lesson. But I figured that bill was basically tuition. We learned how to take care of a bottle calf that's struggling, and there's some hard knocks. I think that the one thing I'll say, I've been very fortunate because of my job. And one reason I protect my job and try to be, put that first to a certain degree is it does afford us the resources to make some mistakes along the way.
Sure, you got a little bit of a financial buffer. Yeah. That never hurts to have, ever.
No, it can be expensive. It can definitely be expensive.
Yeah. So, well, awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention? Did we forget anything or?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, this is a big leap of faith for me to put myself out there like this. So I think that's probably pretty good. Yeah, for now.
I appreciate you being here. Honestly, this has been great. So yeah, Do you want to plug anything specific? Just Twitter, or got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I hope in a couple of weeks, or a month or so, we'll have some sort of website going. But right now, I do mostly it's Facebook and Twitter. We have a farm page on both. We have an Instagram. My wife does, and she puts very tastefully done photographs there because she's got a great eye for that stuff. But I talk on Twitter. I kind of talk about I think the ethos behind all of this. The idea of being just really rooted in your community and eating sustainably and taking care of the land and the animals. I think people find it a paradox that you can love and care for an animal and then take it to the slaughterhouse. And I make it a point. I make it a point of saying thank you to the animals, and we say a prayer before we slaughter the chickens, and we just feel like there's a spiritual connection with the animals there. And that's what I love. I love that feeling of connectedness to the physical, and it's beautiful.
That's well said.
Thanks.
Very good. So follow fellow Geoffrey on Twitter at Long Story Farms.
Yep.
I think that's where he's most active, and you can follow Farm Hop Life everywhere. And I appreciate you being with me today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt. Enjoyed it.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment, review, or send us an email, farmhoplife@gmail.com. Those are always great to read. Like and subscribe as well, but most important is sharing this podcast. We really appreciate it. You can check us out on all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Float, MeWe, and Odyssey. Farmhop.life is where you can see stuff that we post on our social media pages and sign up for our email list so we can stay in touch. FarmHopLife.com is the main site where we'll have lots of exclusive stuff that we don't share anywhere else and some merchandise to help us keep going. Additionally, you can listen to the podcast there and add it to your player of choice. Also, where you can sign up for our email list to let you know of new episodes, interviews, or big changes. Check it out. Thanks.